Hi, this is BK Black Krishna from manfulwars.com, where I'm promoting polite patriotism to help nice ladies and gents teach kids to be, look, talk, and feel great, and locally discuss and share great online info offline as better people making better places to live worldwide. So check out manfulwars.com for more on that. But this video is called Will Conservatives Save Liberal College Kids from Hating Their Country? Will conservatives save liberal college kids from hating their country? And this is inspired by an article I saw on Breitbart News, Breitbart.com, a website I recommend, a great news source for politics and pop culture. And they got a nice mix, so you can get some heavy political stuff, you can get some heavy or silly celebrity stuff, and some sports stuff. And so it's kind of a good mix, and it's not just sort of heavy politics stuff all the time. And as the late great founder of Breitbart News, Andrew Breitbart, said, politics is downstream from culture. What that means is the culture influences us, and then the political system changes rules and laws around us to reflect how the culture influenced us. So the culture will brainwash us, bang us in the head over and over again, and then a few years later, they'll change the politics and change the rules. So, for example, in Ontario, Canada, Ontario, a province in Canada, and in parts of the U.S., this is going on. Other parts of the world, they've hit us with a whole bunch of trans washing and LGBT propaganda, not normal people that want to get along with other people, but people that want to dominate people with their agenda. And so they brainwashed us with the propaganda, and then they passed laws that say, okay, parents, now if your little kid identifies as a different gender, then if you don't agree and affirm that different gender, then we get to snatch your kid up and take him away because that's child abuse, and we can stick him in a foster home or whatever. And it's like, that's insane. It's like you can be a parent going, wait a minute, hold on. This is insane. Right? My kid wanted to be a dinosaur day before yesterday. He wanted to be a Tonka truck yesterday. And now he goes to school. He gets some jelly on his face. He looks in the mirror and he starts laughing, going, hee, I think I'm a girl, because he got some peanut butter and jelly smeared on his lips and it looks like lipstick. And all of a sudden the teacher goes, got one. Aha, he wants to be a girl. It's like a little 5-year-old wants to be a girl. Got him. I found one. Look at me. I'm a hero. I found one. And I can't talk to my kid about this? Nope. Culture brainwashed you, beat you down, politics changed. That's the law, right? And that's Bill 89 in Ontario, Canada, which is completely insane. But that's how it works. So my point in saying that is it's good to keep an eye on both. You can't just be like political. You can't just be like cultural. There's a confluence, and Breitbart News helps us understand that. So I want to shout them out, and I'll get into this article and I'll comment on it. And that'll give you an idea of why conservatives should try and save liberal college kids from hating their country worldwide, right? Certainly in America, but everywhere in the world, because it's part of a bigger and broader agenda. So from Breitbart.com, Breitbart News, it says here, poll, 8% of college Democrats are very proud to be American. 8% of college Democrats, right? And it gets into, you want to see how many Republicans or conservatives are proud? You'll see. It's shocking, right? And there's lots of good reasons to be proud of your country. There's good reasons to criticize your country from a constructive criticism perspective to improve it. But to sort of flat out not be proud of it and feel bad about where you live is just, it's like feeling bad in your own skin. It's like, ugh, I feel bad in my own skin. So, well, you can't leave. I mean, can you make peace with that? No, it sucks. It's always sucked. It's like white people feel bad in their own skin or anybody else. It's like, that sucks, right? When you feel bad about where you live. So here's the article. Poll. And there's an example of some of the college kid activities. No borders, no nations, no races, deportations. No borders, no races, nations, no races, deportations. So they're pushing for a borderless world as part of this. And Tom Chicota, on October 1st, 2019, is writing this article. Now, broadly speaking, this gets into nationalism versus globalism. Globalists, super rich, evil people want to run the world with international organizations like the UN and others, and they want to have sort of a global centralized communism where they and their apparatchiks and their technocrats run everything, run the whole world, and the rest of us are kind of slaves and serfs around the world as part of this program. So they're the ones destroying culture and identity and weakening and dividing and conquering and confusing people, and they're the ones pushing for a borderless world. So when they gin up a bunch of students and others to sort of push for this, this is part of that larger agenda, as opposed to, and it really is more racist and more anti-multiculturalism than conservatives that are like, no, no, hold on, we want to preserve borders. Every country should. It's not racist to be against illegal immigration. Everyone should be against illegal immigration. Japanese should, Nigerians should, Brazilians should, Russians should, French should, right? You shouldn't have a big borderless world where there's no cultures, no identities, no more races, everyone's beige, everyone's going everywhere looking for jobs as the sort of deindustrialization of the world is taking place to make us all weaker and under the control of a global communist hegemony, right? And so, that's the bigger picture behind this. So that's globalism. Then you've got nationalists that are trying to preserve that, trying to preserve their national pride, their national character, their national culture and identity, protect their borders, their economy, their sovereignty, and continue with that tradition so that in the future, you'll have a bunch of great places to live and a bunch of great places to visit. You can go to Mexico, you can go to Cambodia, you can go to Peru, you can go to Romania. And you'll have unique, strong, proud, confident, happy people controlling where they live and having slow, controlled migration with people that want to assimilate, not cucked up, messed up people that mass migrants don't want to assimilate with anyway. And then, some groups of them end up going, screw this, we just gang up, hang out with each other, and some of us will rob, rape, and murder them, right? That's the opposite. So, and when it comes to how globalism versus nationalism relates to politics, well, the globalists, super rich, evil people, they obviously have a lot of control, and they control at least their arms and their apparatchiks. They control a lot of the mass media, a lot of politicians in the political system, a lot of education, super rich guy foundations, Soros, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Ford, and so on. They fund a lot of activism, so it's not like grassroots. It's like super rich evil people giving grants to groups to push what might seem like in the short term things that combat racism, sexism, phobia, whatever, but in the long term weaken people for globalist, super rich, evil people control, right? And while they tend to often control both the conservative and liberal politicians to some degree in different countries, the conservatives try and preserve what works, what's worked, what makes us happy, what have we been doing for the last, for years and years and years, what's made us great, what makes us happy, what makes us proud, what makes us successful. We want to preserve all of that, right? That's how we want to make people happy on the conservative side. On the liberal side, they say we want to make changes. We got to change this. We got to change that. We got to accommodate this group, accommodate that group to make people happy. We got to do this. We got to fight this. We got to battle against this. Whatever. So, in a healthy dynamic where there's polite, patriotic people, you can have good conversations about this. You don't want to be conservatives that never evolve to the point where we never get out of the Stone Age and we never have, computers and iPhones and cool stuff and great standards of living. But you don't want to have liberals that are constantly changing every day. Oh, what do we say today? What do we say? What's the right word? Your black people. Don't say black. Say African American. Or African American people. Or your colored people. Don't say colored. That's racist. Okay, what do we say now? People of color. So today it's people of color? Yes. Colored people, racist, Nazi, scumbag. Okay, don't say colored people anymore. Okay, how about people of color? People of color is fine. What about tomorrow? Tomorrow might change, right? So it's a very unstable existence when you have constant pushing for changing of everything or significant things in your culture, right? So that's a conservative liberal dynamic, broadly speaking. Now, when it comes to specifics, Because conservatives try and preserve what works and what's going well and what makes people happy, and liberals try and push for changes, globalists typically promote more liberals and leftist ideas, radical leftist ideas especially, that corrupt modern liberals and corrupt everyone else through all the sort of institutions they control. So that's why the globalists are behind the radical left. That's why they're behind pushing these agendas, right? And if they can get a bunch of liberals to feel horrible about who they are, where they came from, what their history is, where they live, each other, different races, white people suck, men suck, women suck if they don't like men dressing like women and beating them up in sports competitions. Gays suck if they don't want their homies, being taken out by the trans movement. Like, no, you're gay, you're cool, I like you being a guy. No, I think I'd be a girl. No, I lost my homie, pour out a little liquor. Or lesbians suck if they don't want to have sex with guys with penises that pretend to be girls and want to have sex with lesbians. So they keep eating themselves and they keep fighting. It's sort of eternal divide and conquer on the radical left. And that's why the globalists use leftism and the radical left to push for massive changes in your culture, not to help people out, but to weaken everybody. Whereas on the conservative side, you'll have it's like, nope, we got a great country. We know what to do to make us happy. We know how to be free, independent, personally responsible, respectful, people in a great place to live. And then, because of freedom, you can kind of do what you want. You don't attack people for doing what makes them happy because you're unhappy. You find a way to make yourself happy with a bunch of other happy people, as opposed to the opposite, which is making everyone unhappy, right? So that's why the globalists are pushing this. So you might think, well, people can think what they want, they can do what they want, because there's some conservatives on college, but they're often perceived to be Nazis these days, or racists, or white supremacists, or whatever. And then there's liberals, and they're fighting for disenfranchised minorities, and poor people, and trans people, and different people, and so on. It's like, no. You got to track this back to sort of who's behind it, why, and what they're doing to screw everybody up. And that's why it's important for conservatives to save liberal college kids from hating their own country, because otherwise that's what's been happening, right? Anyway, I'll get into this article, and I'll comment on it with a couple of things that I've noticed happening as a grown-ass man myself, right? I'm a working man, not a broken one, right? Poor excuse for a man trying to get rich, but I'm not horrible at it. Not amazing at it, but not awful at it. So I can certainly kind of man up and help clean this up, and I hope other guys out there can, right? And I definitely think this is a more male thing to do, right? There's certainly some smart women out there, and I would never stop a smart woman from kicking some ass. But I do know that men respect and like men kicking ass more, and so do women, and so do children. And women and children and men, they can like some woman who's kicking ass, right? But it's typically not what we are appreciated as much for. Badass dudes and fine-ass chicks. So at manforwars.com, I get into more of that. The opposite of that is we're all messed up girls. So keep in mind that it is a binary, right? Either men man up and kick some ass and other men respect them and they do it too. And then women and children, find it easier to be safe and secure and happy and comfortable and be protected and provided for. And then some of them can choose to kick ass as well. Or the opposite is we all default to the messed up girl standard, right? Where instead of men making sure that they don't act like or put up with messed up girls, instead men make sure everyone does, right? And that's the problem. So into this article by Tom Cicada, poll 8% of college Democrats very proud to be American. It says here, a new poll of college students revealed that only 8% of college-aged Democrats are very proud to be American. On the other hand, 76% of Republican students say they are very proud to be American, right? Now, just on its face, on its surface, who's happier? That's all. Who's happier? Right? I'm not saying one's right and one's wrong. We can get into that too, but who's happier? Generally, would you prefer to be on the side of people that are proud to be an American, proud to be a member of your country, or would you rather be on the side that is not proud to be an American or whoever you are, wherever you are in the world as part of your country, right? So when it comes to just pure happiness, it's important to sort of understand, the issues here. So back to this article. According to a report by the College Fix, a shockingly small amount of college-age Democrats are proud to be American. Only 8% of college-age Democrats said they were, quote, very proud to be American. On the other hand, 74% of Republican students said that they were very proud to be American. And part of this is nationalism under Trump. If you wonder why, with 3 years of relentless media attacks and demonization and people scared to say they like Trump or wear a MAGA hat and so on, if you wonder why, despite all of that, polls still show over 50% of Americans support him. He still goes out to rallies and draws 5, 10, 20,000 people to hear him talk for 2 hours. There's still tons and tons of people out there supporting him in independent media and videos and so on. Why? Why? Right? Well, this is a big part of why, right? Trump's national pride. Trump saying, we've got great people, the greatest people in the world. We've got a huge boost in the economy. We're doing incredible. We are the best workers, the best this, the best that. And he's not saying that to be racist or to be anti-other countries. He's setting the standard for what leaders worldwide should do, right? It would be great if Putin in Russia, or Xi in China, or Modi in India, or Bolsonaro in Brazil, or whoever's going to run Canada after that miserable, weak, lying, bitchy man Trudeau is kicked out, hopefully, in October of 2019. If they did the same thing, right? We've got the best people, we've got an amazing culture, we're awesome, we're this, we're that. Like that is what makes you happy, right? And that's on the nationalist conservative side. On the liberal globalist side, you have the exact opposite. And you can see, this affecting people more and more and more. For example, when I was in college, when I was in university, I was a university debater and public speaker and did pretty well at it, right? And so competed in the U.S., competed in Canada, competed in the U.S., competed around the world, Ireland, South Africa, Greece, Australia, whatever, right? And my point in saying that is when I was a young man, quite a while ago, I might be dating myself, but I think I'm worth it. But when I was a young man, quite a while ago, I recall our university debating culture, which was drinking, partying, bunch of cool guys, badass dudes, fine-ass chicks. We would drink and party on Friday nights. We'd get up Saturday mornings to debate. We'd drink and party on Saturday nights, and then Sunday mornings, if you made the top 8 teams, you would get up to debate. If you didn't, you'd get up to watch the sort of quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. And it was a free speech culture, constantly talking, cracking jokes, constantly being ironic and satirical when it comes to issues of race and gender and other sort of taboo topics. Like we would talk about that stuff and we would joke about that stuff, right? And it wasn't something where it wasn't the gotcha cancel culture, right? It wasn't a gotcha cancel culture. It was, if people went too far, you would just groan. You'd groan, shrug, crack a joke, say knock it off. It wasn't like you suddenly identified somebody that was perfectly cool, perfectly nice guy, a friend that's worthy of hanging out in the circle of friends, and then suddenly, you said that? You're secretly a Nazi. It's like, no, we knew we weren't Nazis. We knew we weren't racist. We weren't trying to call each other out for that type of crap, right? I'd be hanging out with some white guys and go, the cops come, they're going to arrest me first and close to a black guy, right? Or there'd be a black guy there. He'd be laughing at the same joke, right? If it was a brown guy, I was hanging out with some white guys, right? And it was black, brown, white, Asian, whole mix. But we weren't obsessed with it. We were mocking some of the politically correct culture that was seeping in at the time when I was a young man, right? And then I went back a few years later, 5, 10 years later. I'm working, I'm out of university, I've got a regular job. But me and some of the other sort of veteran debaters would sometimes go back to judge tournaments at universities, right? We'd go, okay, we've got, he was a debater, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Typically in the first 5, 6, 7 years, you'd go back and you'd start judging. After 5, 10 years, it becomes a little weird. Some still do, but it becomes a little weird. But if you love the sport, you love the game, you want to go back, you want to help out, right? And we'd go and we'd be judges. We'd be judges for some of the debates. We might be celebrity judges for some of the quarterfinal, semifinal, finals rounds, and so on. We'd be veteran debaters with experience. And I recall just going there just a few years after I'd left the debating culture, when this politically correct radical left kind of brainwashing was starting to hit more and more and more and faster and faster and faster. Looking at the kids and talking to the kids, these 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds, and I'm 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, whatever, right? And asking them, hey, how's it going on? What do you guys do for fun? And just different kids, more robotic, not the ironic, satirical, shit-talking, think we're going to run the world, braggadocious, wannabe badasses that we were when I was young. The next generation was like, no, got to go to bed early, can't stay up and party, can't chase girls, and can't hang out and get drunk with my buddies and party all night and pull pranks and do stunts, and no, and even the way they talked was a lot more self-censoring, right? And the way they debated was a lot more boring, because we would get up there and try and pick out cool cases, cool topics to debate if we could make them up ourselves, something that's sort of grounded in reality or philosophy, but interesting, right? Not just a super safe topic where everybody knows what the topic is, everybody knows what the three main arguments are. You basically say them, and then how well you sort of repeat what everyone's supposed to say is, we tried not to do that. We crapped on that in my generation. And then, just sort of one or two university generations later, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years later, you could see radical changes in the students and so on, and how they acted. Me and my buddies, because I sometimes go with some friends of mine who also were in university debating, we try and look for archetypes of us. Oh, that guy reminds me of you when, we were doing this. That girl reminds me of whatever, right? And so, that was quite shocking, because I just looked at these kids and I'm like, these kids are not having nearly as much fun as we did. And it's our responsibility as adults to make sure our kids have it better than we do. That's the responsibility of adults for the next generation, parents for their kids, and so on. So this is really messed up, right? And that's why I think conservatives, when it comes to conservative college kids and others, have to save liberal college kids from hating their country. Because otherwise, this is the crap you get, where it's just progressively more quiet, hypersensitive, politically correct, corporate clones that are being created. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up just because I think it's relative to this, and it just shows how in the last 20-something years there have been radical changes, and in the last 5 it's gotten even crazier, right? The last 5 years have been completely insane when it comes to this. So back to this article. Quote, seems kind of silly to be proud about something I had zero control over. One student from Indiana University said, I'm glad to be an American, but I'm definitely not proud. A student from the University of Houston added, grateful? Yes. I don't think pride is the correct emotion, one student from University of Notre Dame said. Pride is a sin. Pride goeth before a fall. Pride can often be, a mask for insecurity. So, generally speaking, when it comes to pride and so on, it's not necessarily the greatest thing in every case. But being proud of your country means being proud of a history, a legacy, a culture, the way you've treated people, what you've built, what your ancestors built. So that's a lot bigger than the sort of selfish pride, from being a guy, a fat guy in little Britney Spears short shorts twerking and trying to get everyone to look at you and pretend they like it, right? That's a selfish, narcissistic pride, right? At a pride parade, for example, LGBT, whatever, pride parade, right? This is being proud of something bigger than you, something that you're a part of and something that you're expected to carry on as part of your cultural tradition. So This version of pride is different from the typical selfish, narcissistic version of pride often sold today. And hence, it certainly is valuable and an emotion that I think that we should encourage people to feel about something especially bigger than them, right? And something that's been built by people that they are a part of, their ancestors, their forefathers, and so on. So that's on the on some of the comments from some of the left. And then back to this article, but not all college-age students are ashamed to be American. One small group of students decided to show their love for America in the comment sections of the survey, sharing lyrics from a popular patriotic tune, Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA. And it's got the little comments there that were part of the survey. It says, "Where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died and gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. Because there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA." So you can compare those comments by those liberal students to these sample comments by conservative students, and you can go, well, okay, that's snarky, bitchy, liberal. I don't know about pride. It seems kind of silly to say. I just happen to be born here. It's just an accident of my birth, I don't know. Yeah. I guess you can't really say pride. To God bless the goddamn right. This place is fantastic. I don't hate anybody else, but I sure do love us. It's like, that's great, right? So, and kids don't know that. College kids don't know that. They don't have the bigger understanding of who's behind them not feeling proud of where they're from. So it's good to sort of pass that on. Back to this article, one student from Clemson University criticized his leftist peers for their lack of pride in their country. Quote, "Interesting to see all these ungrateful comments simply because, quote, orange man bad. Put your politics aside. America is the greatest country on earth, regardless of whether it's led by a Republican or Democrat," the student wrote. "Hell yeah, I'm proud," another student added. "I hit the jackpot being born in America. I could have been born in a worse country that denies women, gays, trans, basic human rights." So there you go. Even if you've got some sort of left-leaning bent where you're sort of focused on rights for women, gays, trans, and so on, other sort of marginalized groups or disenfranchised groups, you can still be proud of where you live. And I think that's an important note for this article to end on. So my advice to conservatives out there is to sort of make it a mission, conservative adults, whether you're college students or whether you're not, to say we got to save the college kids from this. We got to give them a bigger understanding of who's behind putting out ideas that make them feel bad. In fact, there's tons of ideas out there that that nobody in your country likes, and yet, or almost nobody likes. Typically, I guess with the brainwashing these days, it's a bit maybe people begrudgingly are in favor of, but nobody likes, doesn't make them happy, right? So, for example, if you walk around with a petition in any country in the world, you can go to any of 200 countries, right? And you can have a petition there. And you can say, "Hi there, I've got my petition, and I'm just walking around a city where in sample country X." And I say, "Excuse me, yeah, I've got this petition here saying we should open our borders to anybody in the world that wants to come in, not be careful about who they are, not be worried about how many people are coming in, not be concerned that they may not know the language or want to assimilate well, and they don't share the same values that we do. And we should just open our borders and just let in as many people as we can, as fast as we can. Can you sign this petition, please?" There's no country in the world where most people would be in favor of that and sign that petition. So where does that idea come from? That comes from the United Nations, the globalist world government in development, as it was. The UN isn't just a big Starbucks. The UN puts out, they've got NGOs, non-governmental organizations, which means they work for the World Government Organization, the United Nations, all over the world. They've got programs all over the world. They get money from countries all over the world. And then they develop stuff at the UN that they launder into your countries through the political system, the media, education system, and so on, right? And if you type in open borders and UN or United Nations, I've done this myself in search engine. If you don't like Google, try DuckDuckGo or Startpage or something. You can find policy papers written by the United Nations saying, United Nations for a borderless world, United Nations, the problem with borders, UN Global Compact for Migration, saying, oh, you should be able to leave any country if you don't like it, if you don't feel safe or you don't feel whatever, you don't feel happy there, you should be able to leave. But now you have a right to leave. Now we need to make sure you have a right to go to any country, right? And so they get countries to sign on to the Global Compact for Migration. So even though nobody in countries anywhere likes it, and you wonder where the hell did this idea come from, that's from the globalist United Nations and other kind of globalist organizations pushing that, right? Another example is you walk around any country in the world, right? Go to any of 200 countries, right? I guarantee you that nobody's going to like this, right? Maybe a tiny fraction of weirdos or perverts or super brainwashed people would like this, but otherwise, nobody, right? So walk around any country in the world and have a petition and just go to people there in a city there and say, excuse me, yeah, hi, I've got a petition here. This petition is to try and make sure that we, our country and our culture and our education system can teach younger and younger children more and more about more and more different types of sex at younger and younger ages, right? So it's not enough if you're a high school teenager and you might, be bumping uglies with each other, maybe elementary school, not enough kindergarten, whatever, and more, and not just straight reproduction, here's how it works, but straight sex and then gay sex and then trans sex and then lesbian sex and then bisexual sex and then different kinds of sex and then bestiality and pedophilia and man boy love and more and more and more about more and more different kinds of sex and genders and and to younger and younger and younger kids. Right? And we need to make sure we have this plan to do that so that it goes in stages and we get this done as much as possible and as fast as possible. Could you sign here, please? What would happen? You'd get shocked looks, dirty looks, you'd get told off, you'd get arrested, you'd get punched in the face. All of that is great. That's great. That's a healthy culture, right? So where did that come from, right? Why is that now a big part of education systems in Canada, in America, in Europe, in other parts of the world, right? Why? Where's that from? That's from the United Nations again, right? They passed a declaration in 2011 saying children are sexual beings, children have sexual rights. The International Planned Parenthood Federation, the international version of Planned Parenthood, they came out with their Exclaim, it's XCLAIM declaration, also around 2010, 2011, advocating for the same thing. Groups like LifeSite News, a Christian-based organization that does a lot of really good factual stuff, great work from a moral perspective as well. With some articles on Christianity, Catholicism, and so on, but also articles on the culture in general from a Christian perspective, which isn't necessarily bad. It's a moral perspective. They reported on this among other groups. And that's from the United Nations. So it's important for conservatives out there to let liberal college kids know where these ideas are coming from, right? You would never want to be endorsing something that you thought came from Hitler, right? It was like, hey, I like that. What's that symbol? Oh, it's cool. I bought this T-shirt. It's got this cool little, X on it with some little things on the ends. Excuse me, dude, that's a swastika, right? It's associated with Adolf Hitler, right? He killed 6 million Jews and killed millions of other people, 20, 30 million, responsible for World War II, that killed like 30, 40, 50 million people, really bad guy. You don't want to be wearing that. So, oh my God, you're right. I don't want to be wearing this, right? I don't want to be wearing this T-shirt with this swastika on it, right? Because they don't know. They don't know, right? But it's important for conservatives out there to sort of educate themselves and then educate others. Otherwise, you've got this sort of typically what happens in communist countries is they try and brainwash the youth, right? Communism and socialism always appeals to the youth, right? They say if you're young and you're not a liberal, you have no heart. But if you're old and you're not a conservative, you have no brain. That's a classic a classic saying about these issues, right? Because when you're young and you're liberal and you're like, yeah, we need to be equal, we need to do this, we need to do that, socialism sounds good. Plus, my mommy and daddy took care of me, and now I'm in school, and the school's taking care of me, and I can't take care of myself. I need the government to take care of me. So they're in favor of socialism and more free stuff from the government. But as you become an adult and you realize personal responsibility, and the free market system, and you fulfill your potential as an adult, then you're like, okay, hold on. I want the government out of my business, doing as little as possible, taking as little taxes as possible, and allowing and getting out of the way of people succeeding, not being in the way of people succeeding. And then more successful people and a more successful culture and economy and country can help less fortunate people, right? We don't need more and more government control. So it's important for conservatives out there to pass this on to liberal age college kids, because as you can tell, they're all messed up by what's going on. Anyway, so we'll leave it there for now. But I found this article fascinating and shocking, and I'll put it below. 8% of college Democrats very proud to be American. 76% of college Republicans very proud to be American. And keep in mind, this is even in cultures with a lot of sort of liberal, leftist, and globalist media propaganda. That's still really impressive. And Trump is a nationalist in America, doing a great job. Bolsonaro, nationalist in Brazil, doing a great job. Viktor Orban in Hungary, doing a great job. Poland, doing a great job when it comes to sort of national pride and so on. And ultimately, a lot of these kids just want to feel happy, right? So you can be like, you can't scare them. You can't make them think that you're scum and you're a racist and you're this and that and you're whatever and you're a Nazi because you're not a leftist or whatever. You can approach them by saying, look, this will make you happier, right? Do you want to be happier? Do you want to like yourself and other people more? Do you want to like each other more? Do you want to feel better about who you are and where you're from and where you're going and where you live? Well, we can help with that. And I think that's really key. So, and then online's fine, or censored digital ghettos. So you need to win the offline info war too, with meetings, meet and greet tables, posters, flyers, and more. And kind of, blanket your hood or your area with this type of information. And get out there, meet with each other. So you can have proper conversations. Don't lie, look each other in the eye. Have meet and greet tables, or people can approach you and you can have good conversations. Pass on some posters or flyers. Here's some websites to check out. And then people can sort of learn over time, and you can put up posters and flyers and so on. So that's the offline information war, which really needs to supplement the online information war to locally make better people and places to live. And I think that's a key to sort of winning this battle. And there you have it. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, get in touch with questions, answers, ideas to work together, or financial support. Otherwise, BK Black Krishna from manforwars.com. Hope this helps, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.